is 2025, and Andrew Heaney is dominating. What is going on? Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Thursday, April 24th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. Today on the show, Pete Crow-Armstrong and Oneil Cruz are off to torrid starts. Andrew Heaney or Reese Olson. I have some fill in the blanks, and unfortunately, we need Corey Seager replacements. Let's jump in.
Oh my goodness! Unbelievable!
Unbelievable is how we will describe Andrew Heaney. Chris, you're up.
As in, we literally don't believe it?
We don't believe it. I don't know. Maybe we do.
I don't want to speak for anyone else, so I will just speak for Chris and say that I don't buy Andrew Heaney, despite the fact that he had 9 strikeouts and 6 shutout innings today against the Angels. He has allowed 1 run or 0 runs in 4 of his 5 starts. He now has 2 starts of at least 19 strikeouts. That is all awesome, and I just don't really care, especially because you might see he has 2 starts on the schedule next week. One of them's against the Cubs. The other one's against the Padres. That's not exactly a great matchup. It's not a terrible one, but like though you do not see versus Chicago Cubs versus San Diego Padres and say, yes, I am starting my 43% rostered pitcher outside of points leagues. You can probably start him. It's fine there. But in a roto league, I think there's too much ratio risk. I know he's been good. I know people get frustrated when pitchers have good starts and we just, we don't care. But I just don't really care. It's Andrew Heaney.
You want us to lie to you.
He's got a long track record of mediocrity. Even with the 2 big strikeout games, he's got like a 24% strikeout rate on the season, which isn't terrible, but it's not supporting a sub-2 ERA, certainly. The per pitch stuff is like his fastball velocity is down 1.5 miles per hour. He doesn't have a pitch with a whiff rate over 25%, unless you count his slow curve, which only has 23 pitches. So I think we can just not count that. I don't see it. I just don't.
Yeah. I don't see anything that's changed here process wise for him is the thing, which I think you're getting at too. I try to
Whoa. An early visit from Robo Scott.
All right, so I'll add a little more color. There are some process changes for Andrew Heaney. I don't want to make it sound like he's just the same guy he's always been. He's throwing his slider way less.
I didn't notice that.
He's throwing his slider way less this season. It's been like his number 2 pitch for the most of his career. This year, he's down to 7% usage. The thing is, the slider's typically been really good for him. Certainly, it's been his best swing and miss pitch for a long time. So that's a change that I don't actually think I want to get excited about either way.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing, is that Andrew Heaney's just mixing in more pitches this season. You know, this slow curve that he's throwing a little bit more. He's not really using it that much, but he's mixing in the changeup and the curveball more, and it's working so far. The control has been awesome too. He's not really walking anybody. Maybe mixing in this many pitches has kept hitters off balance more because the quality of contact is much better. The barrel rate is down. So it's working for now. Will it last? I mean, I think I agree with you guys that it most likely won't, but I don't know. We've talked about a few of these pitchers that I feel like we've had similar takes about so far, and I don't know. I kind of come away with the same thing, like ride it while he's hot type thing. But I mean, you bring up a good point. The matchups next week are a little bit scary. It's the Cubs and the Padres for Andrew.
Yeah.
So
I think Andrew Heaney is one of those pitchers. Like there are other pitchers we'll talk about tonight who are widely available, who I actually think are pretty interesting. Andrew Heaney just feels like he's as good as what his next matchup is. And his next matchup, the Cubs are the best offense in baseball right now. I don't think the Cubs are the best offense in baseball, but they are right now. And it's worth noting, officially 10% of the starts where a starting pitcher has had at least 9 strikeouts this season have come against the Angels. There have been 69 strikeout starts this season. 6 of them are against the Angels. And it's even worse than it sounds because 5 of them have come in their last 9 starts. 5 pitchers have had at least 9 strikeouts in the last 9 games against the Angels. They are just whiffing at everything. So I think this is more about the matchup. And, Heaney's pitching well. I don't want to take that away from him. I just don't think it's sustainable.
I disagree. I don't even think he's pitching that well. I think you guys are giving him too much credit. He entered this start with a 9% swinging strike rate on the year. He had a great start, like 24 swinging strikes. That's the most he's had. He hasn't even had 20 in a start since 2020. So it's the fakest thing I've ever seen.
The FIP is 223. The xFIP is 306.
Yeah, the xERA was 319 coming into the start. I think I think you are giving him too little credit, but moving forward, I think it's functionally the same thing.
I already dread having to rank him as one of the 10 sleeper pitchers for next week, but I have to come up with 10, so I'm sure he'll be among them.
The other standout waiver wire pitching performance from Wednesday was Reese Olson, who isn't available in that many leagues. He's 65% rostered, but this was his best start of the season, and it was up against a team that does not strike out very much. Granted, they are missing a lot of their players right now, the Padres, but 7 1/3 shutout innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, 17 whiffs on 85 pitches for Reese Olson, 9 on the changeup, 8 on the slider. He is doing exactly what we wanted him to do this season. He is throwing his four-seam fastball less. He is relying more on these secondary pitches. He's throwing his sinker a little bit more this season as well. This is the first real standout start for Reese Olson, but his start before this was pretty good as well. He's down to a 3.29 ERA. Obviously, this was a pitcher we had much more interest in than Andrew Heaney coming into the season. So, I mean, if it's just like a heads-up scenario, I think we're all pretty easily taking Reese Olson over Andrew Heaney, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Anything else to add on this Reese Olson start?
No, it was his best one. 2 good ones in a row. Didn't give us length the last time. Gave us length this time. Trending up. Looks good.
I just think he's so funny because it's how good can a pitcher be with 2 really good secondaries and 2 horrible fastballs? Like, I don't know if there's another pitcher that has a wider gulf between how good their secondaries are and how bad their fastballs are. And I think during the sinker, more than the four-seamer makes sense just because the damage he's going to give up will be fewer home runs and more singles. So I think that's a good change. I do wonder how, like, he wasn't really getting strikeouts before this, like that's the concern, is that I just don't know, despite the good swing and miss secondaries, if the strikeouts are ever going to be there consistently.
Fair on Reese Olson. He looks like he might be a 2-star pitcher at the Astros and at the Angels next week. So Astros lineup definitely off to a slow start. Angels, as Chris pointed out, are striking out a ton. So I have a feeling that if he is legitimately a 2-star pitcher, he will rank somewhere on that sleeper pitcher list tomorrow for you, Scott. But we will find out then. Let's go over to you for your player of the night. We spoke a lot about Pete Crow-Armstrong yesterday, but Scott, you were not here, and he just had another awesome game.
Yeah, he did 3 for 4, a home run, 2 steals in his last 13 games now. He's batting .396 with 5 home runs and 6 steals. So Pete Crow-Armstrong, very hot. He still doesn't hit the ball especially hard. I mean, even the home run here today, it was a 1 in 30 type of home run. Like, literally, he hit it. The spot he hit it, he happened to hit it in the one park where it would have gone out. His average exit velocity, 39th percentile. Max exit velocity is right around 50. So he's in the lower half of the league in terms of how hard he impacts the ball. And of course, we already know that about Pete Crow-Armstrong. That's one of the big knocks on him. The reason why it might work is 48% fly ball rate, 43% pull rate. Those are very good. And that elevating to your pull side, that's how we see hitters who don't impact the ball especially hard. That's how we see them overcome that. But it's It's a narrow margin for error. It's by the skin of your teeth kind of power that Pete Crow-Armstrong is delivering here. And I think part of the one reason you could maybe be more optimistic about it is that he was so productive in the minors. So we've seen it work before, albeit against a much lower level of competition. And so maybe it'll continue to work. I mean, obviously good signs here. It could just be that he's really hot. I remember the way things went for Pete Crow-Armstrong in the second half last season. He went from having a 933 OPS in August with just a 14% strikeout rate, 933, 14% in August. And then it was 677 with a 30% strikeout rate in September. So we might just be seeing some of the best of Pete Crow-Armstrong here as opposed to the new baseline. But he's young enough that it could be a new baseline. So I'm keeping an open mind. Pete Crow-Armstrong is, I have him 36th. I could maybe push him up near 30. I'd probably take him over. Oh, I'd probably take him over like Riley Green at this point.
In Roto, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess if the power and speed remains, like if he's a 25-30 guy, I don't know that the format matters that much. That's going to add up to a lot of points too.
I think 30 is really underselling him, and I think 25 is probably overselling him. I'm writing about him for tomorrow's newsletter.
2040, let's say. Whatever numbers you want to put there. A lot of home runs and a lot of stolen bases.
I'm writing about him for tomorrow. The plate discipline's still really bad. He still makes a lot of bad swing decisions. There's a stat on Pitcher List called Process Plus that basically puts together swing decisions, contact skills, and power skills. And it's still a really small sample size, but that has him over his past 100 pitches faced right around like a 95 out of 100. It's scaled to 100 being average. So a below average hitter. But if Pete Crow-Armstrong's just a slightly below average hitter, there will be some power. There's going to be a lot of speed there. And I'm certainly ready to say that I don't think he's going to be a bust. I'm not sure I'm ready to say he's going to be like a huge difference maker. Certainly not like he's got like a 900 OPS right now. I don't think that's for real. I think 750-ish is probably more like where I'd put it. But because of the speed in Roto leagues, I think he's going to still be a must-start player, even if he's just a below average hitter. And it's worth pointing out, 4 batted balls over 100 miles per hour today. That's not nothing. I think it's happened 21 times this season. Most of them have been done by superstars. Aaron Judge did it. Francisco Lindor did it. Pete Alonso did it. Austin Wynn had 5 on Sunday. I think 2 of them were against position players, but still. And a couple of other pretty lousy hitters have had 4 batted balls over 100 miles per hour in the same game. So it's not proof that you're great. But it's a good sign.
Again, that was Pete Crow-Armstrong. And while we're talking about power and speed, I just do want to mention Oneil Cruz, who is just off to this great start. 2 for 5 with a sock in the shoe, his 6th home run, his 11th steal. That's the 4th time he has had a home run and a steal in the same game this season. And it is only April 24th. So the batting average, only 247, but walking more, a 355 on base percentage, the 6 homers, 11 steals, 874 OPS. And it kind of feels like it might be happening, guys, for Oneil Cruz.
Yeah, maybe. a lot more fly balls helps. And the reduction in strikeout rate, it's so slight that I don't know that we can really count on it to continue a 3 percentage point drop in strikeout rate. So I don't know about that. I mean, every little point helps, I suppose. But it's just we got a long way to go. And so is he going to maintain that 3 percentage point drop? That's really hard to say at this point. The fact he's running so much, I think that's the biggest thing for Oneil Cruz. And again, can't say for sure that it's sustainable, but it would help a lot to raise both the floor and the ceiling for Cruz. Yeah, a lot's going right for him. We've known he has a lot of upside. I was looking at somebody else's rankings the other day, and they had Oneil Cruz as a top 20 overall player now. I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to play it a little more cautiously, but it goes to show that there's definite enthusiasm for him right now.
All right, before we hit our first break, just a reminder that you can listen to FBT and FBT Express on Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube right now, you can scan the QR code that will take you right to FBT, the FBT feed on Spotify. And big thanks to those watching us live. Apologies, we started a little bit later today, but make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's take a break, and we'll be back right after this quick commercial break.
One of golf's elite courses, Quail Hollow, hosts the game's top players at the PGA Championship this May on CBS.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball Today. News and notes. Corey Seager was placed on the IL with a right hamstring strain. Nick Ahmed started at shortstop Wednesday for the Rangers against a left-handed pitcher. I would imagine Josh Smith will probably start against most righties while Corey Seager is out. And if we are looking for shortstop replacements, good luck.
It's rough
because it is not great right now.
This is the toughest position I write that waiver wire article every week with top options at every position, and shortstop is the toughest position every week. It's just there are superstars, and then there's a bunch of not great stuff going on.
Let's hope that it's just a short stay on the IL, but man, it's frustrating because Seager has dealt with these hamstring injuries over and over and recurring. Mm-hmm. So,
although I think this is the first IL stint for a right hamstring injury. I was looking that up last night. It's mostly been left hamstrings the previous times.
All right, so if we are looking for shortstop replacements, the best names I could find under 70% rostered, brace yourself. Dylan Moore, 69%. Jeremy Pena, 65%. Cedar Rafaela, 61%. Mason Wynn, 57%. Any interest? Who do you take?
I mean, these aren't terrible options.
Yeah, probably between Pena and Wynn. Pena's hotter right now.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd go with that. Hopefully it's not a long absence for Seager. They were speculating minimal length. We'll see.
Some names in deeper leagues. How many times have I mentioned this name already this season? I don't know why, but Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, 28% rostered. Again, these
love them.
I love them. Deeper league names. Luis Angel Acuna, shortstop eligible. Jeff McNeil's coming back. I don't know how much he's going to play, but he's stealing some bases. Brooks Lee, 20%. JP Crawford, 13%. I realize these are not good names, but in 12-team roto leagues or deeper where you need a middle infield spot or something like that, these might be the best names available.
Did I imagine that the Mets are going to try Jeff McNeil in center field?
I hope you imagine that because I can't imagine it going very well.
I think I saw that. Yeah, that's a thing.
There's no way.
He's played center field on his rehab assignment, and they are going to experiment with that in the hopes of potentially, maybe keeping Luis Angel Acuna in the lineup.
Wouldn't you rather try Acuna in center field? I feel like he's played that position in the minors at least.
I guess they don't trust Nimmo's foot in center field because he's actually played a lot of center field.
But Nimmo hasn't been playing center field this year. I think they just.
I know. I'm just saying, like, if rather than force McNeil out there.
Yeah,
I think it's been a lot of like Tyrone Taylor. So.
Yeah, it's been mostly Tyrone Taylor. But that's something to keep in mind if you're looking to add Acuna. I think he's probably the most interesting of this group, but I don't know if I trust the playing time.
I think note to self, if you play in a league, like a roto league with a middle infield spot, not that it should be your top priority, but be a little cognizant of this next year. If if all things being equal, you'd rather fill that middle infield spot with a shortstop because it's much easier to find a replacement second baseman off the waiver wire than shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is shortstop is much deeper in impact players. Second base is much deeper in useful guys.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing that with like Luke Keeschel get called up and he's doing his thing. And, Caleb Durbin has a little bit of upside there as well. And there's a few other names that we've talked about all season, like Otto Lopez doing some things. And
I think it's probably just that there's more guys eligible at second base.
Yeah,
like
shortstop has the highest defensive threshold short of catcher. So there's only so many players who are going to get eligibility there.
Yeah.
While second base and first base are kind of the biggest catch-alls.
Yeah.
Well, outfield too, I guess.
Jorge Polanco is another name there too, that if you just need a middle infielder, that could make some sense as well. Blake Snell experienced a setback after playing catch on Tuesday and will be shut down from throwing for the foreseeable future. Not great, obviously, there with Blake Snell. Phillies manager Rob Thompson said Christopher Sanchez, who left his start early on Tuesday with forearm soreness, will play catch on Friday, and that there are no plans for him to undergo an MRI. Not sure that I buy it, but okay. I guess we'll see on Friday.
Are they on the road? They are on the road, and I think teams might be like less inclined to do MRIs when they're on the road than when they are at home. But just get an MRI. Like I don't understand why teams do this. The risk there's no reward to not getting the MRI. There's no risk. Just do it. I don't understand it.
Maybe they don't want to know what's going on with the arm. Apparently, Emmanuel Clase experienced some shoulder discomfort after his latest appearance on Sunday, and that was Clase's third day pitching in a row. I believe he threw 30 pitches in that appearance, and it explains why Cade Smith got the saves on both Monday and Tuesday. I think, look, in those deeper leagues where we're speculating on saves, Cade Smith might already be rostered, but pick him up just in case. If you have Clase on your team in a Roto League, you might want to make sure that you have Cade Smith as well, just in case.
There was a lot of reliever news today.
Yeah.
Like 4 potential speculative save sources because of 3 of them with pitchers dealing with injuries, 1 with just a guy struggling, which we'll get to right now. Frank, tell him about it.
Let's see. Well, next up, Ryan Presley. Is that the one that we were
Ryan Presley and Justin Martinez both dealing with relatively minor issues, but worth noting if you're looking to speculate.
Ryan Presley dealing with a knee injury. Apparently he had it drained recently. And I was watching that Cubs and Dodgers game, and it's a 1-run game, 9th inning, and Porter Hodge comes out for the save. So I was a bit confused. I have Presley in a few spots. I just traded him in a Roto League where I need saves, so didn't feel great about that. And Porter Hodge, closed it down real quick, and he struck out 1. So he
struck out Ohtani.
Yeah, I mean, they're hoping that Presley is available Friday, but obviously there's no guarantee. And then the other news that you mentioned there was Justin Martinez, who apparently is dealing with shoulder fatigue. He did pitch here on Wednesday.
Yeah, and that one seems less serious. And also, I don't even know who the next guy up would be. Because now they opened the season with 3 potential closers. And 2 of them are on the IL already, with Kevin Ginkel dealing with shoulder issues and AJ Puck with the elbow.
Yeah,
I would guess Shelby Miller.
Yeah,
who's looked great. His fastball's been up a mile per hour. I think he's allowed just 1 or 2 hits all year. So that would be my guess. But hopefully it's not a big deal. They're acting like it's not a big deal, and I hope it's not a big deal because Justin Martinez he has top 5 closer potential with AJ Puck out of the picture.
Mm-hmm. While we're talking about bullpens, I did want to get to a few of these. I would call them interesting situations right now. So for the Tigers, Tommy Kahnle entered with 1 out in the 8th inning on Wednesday, 2 runners on, a 4-run lead, facing 7, 8, and 9 in the Padres lineup. Recorded both outs. This is kind of interesting usage. And then the Tigers tacked on 2 more runs. Will Vest came on for the 9th inning. I believe that's like 3 straight games that Will Vest has closed out the 9th inning. So
see my vest. Just another Simpsons song reference. He's He's looked really good this year. Like he has a straighter, harder changeup. I'm sorry, slider it's verging on a 60% whiff rate. It's like 3 miles per hour up from previously for Will Vest. And I just wonder if AJ Hinch's resolve is weakening there with Tommy Kahnle, because Will Vest's last 3 appearances have come in the 9th, twice following Kahnle. It's not like Kahnle's done anything wrong, but Vest may have just decided Vest is the better choice, or he may keep going back and forth because he's AJ Hinch and that's what he does.
Yeah. And then for the Giants, Ryan Walker entered the 9th inning with a 4-run lead, the dreaded non-save situation. He allowed 2 runs on 3 hits. He only recorded 1 out, and he was relieved by Camilo Doval, who got the final 2 outs for his 4th save. Ryan Walker now has a 7.27 ERA and a 1.38 whip. Doval, 2.45 ERA, 0.82 whip. But he only has 8 strikeouts in 11 innings, 6.6 K per 9. I mean, the walks are better this season. There's no doubt about that for Doval. He has closing experience. It's just, man, I don't know. I feel like this maybe could get flipped on its head a little bit real quick in the Giants bullpen. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, 2 bad outings in a row. That's shaky ground for a closer. It doesn't, like, 1 bad week can cost a closer his job. It was a non-save situation here this time, and Walker had looked great prior to the first of the 2 bad outings in a row. So I'm guessing he has some more leash to work with here, and they're not just going to pull the plug after these 2 bad appearances. But it's something that has to be discussed now, especially since Doval has a history of closing.
If we're talking about all these situations, Cade Smith, Porter Hodge, Shelby Miller, Will Vest, Camilo Doval, who do you like most there is just like speculative kind of reliever ad right now?
So Smith's the best of the bunch as a pitcher. So I would think he's at the highest end, but the thing is, there's no way Emmanuel Clase loses his job anytime soon if it's just performance. If he's not healthy, then he's not healthy.
Yeah.
But if he's healthy, I think they're going to...
Well, that's...
If Clase goes in the IL, that's the only... Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, who has the most potential as a closer if he were to become the closer?
I think it's Smith.
It's probably Smith.
Doval's not that far behind.
Who of them would I predict gets the most saves rest of season? It would actually be Will Vest. Now, will it be a particularly high saves total, or will AJ Hinch constantly be reshuffling him and that put a serious limit on the upside for Vest? I think that latter scenario is most likely, but I'm saying that's these others seem like short-term fill-ins in the most likely scenario. Well, Vest could become part of a long-term committee.
All right. Well, I kind of derailed us there with some bullpen talk, but I thought it was, pretty important right now with everything that's going on. Back to the news. Grayson Rodriguez has been diagnosed with a mild right lat strain, and he originally went on the IL due to right elbow inflammation. I guess this is what we know what's happening right now, but between the lat strain, the shoulder, the elbow, it's just the entire arm. I mean, there's something not right with Grayson Rodriguez. I mean,
even beyond just the something not right, this is the 3rd time in 4 seasons he's had a lat injury. Now, that's not like a hugely debilitating issue, but it keeps happening. Like, this was 2 of them were season-ending injuries in 2022. 2022 when he was in the minors, he had a season-ending lat injury. Last year, season-ending lat injury, missed like the last month and a half, 2 months of the season.
Yeah.
And now it's a 3rd time in 4 years. There is something going on here, and it's concerning for sure. It doesn't necessarily mean he's done or that it's time to panic, but he's not right. And it's a recurring injury that's held him back 3 of the last 4 years now. That's concerning.
Some other reliever news. Edwin Diaz left his relief appearance early on Wednesday due to a left hip cramp. So doesn't sound too serious, but let's pay attention. Pablo Lopez is on track to return this weekend against the Angels. The Rockies activated Brenton Doyle from the bereavement list and optioned Zach Veen back to AAA. Veen was 4 for 34 with a 38% strikeout rate, 30% rostered. Are you holding Zach Veen in any redraft leagues right now?
No, didn't go well. And there's not going to be nearly as much enthusiasm, nearly as much competition for him on the waiver wire when he returns. So you can probably free up that roster spot. Even if you like him, even if you believe in him, you're just like the bloom is off the rose.
All right. Next up, we have.
It is also worth noting, fantasy analysts have liked Zach Veen a lot more,
especially this one.
Traditional analysts.
I've been banging the drum for Veen for years.
But it wasn't just you. Like he gained a lot of hype in fantasy circles that was not shared by the prospect community writ large.
I kept putting in my top 100 list and not seeing him in anybody else's. I don't know why I'm sticking up as the guy, like I'm the Zach Veen believer when it just went poorly, but I guess I'm still a Zach Veen believer as much as I can believe in any Rockies talent.
You're a Zach fiend.
There you go.
There you go.
Seiya Suzuki was scratched Wednesday due to right wrist discomfort, and he sat out 3 games recently with the same issue. Will Smith was out of the lineup after sustaining a left wrist injury on Tuesday night. Royce Lewis expected to begin a rehab assignment later this week. He's missed the start of the season with a left hamstring strain. Francisco Alvarez and Jeff McNeil are both expected to make their season debuts for the Mets on Friday. Alvarez 53% rostered, Jeff McNeil 18% rostered. Any interest in those two?
More in Alvarez, but even that's probably limited to 2 catcher leagues for now because I think we can come up with 12 catchers we like more. But there's upside there, particularly in the power department. We'll see if he finally makes good on it.
Nobody wants to believe me, but Jeff McNeil was good in the second half last year. That's all I'm going to say.
No, we don't.
I think he's an interesting middle infield option.
Too bad he can't play shortstop.
Would you guys rather Francisco Alvarez or Agustin Ramirez right now?
Agustin.
Yeah.
Zach Eflin is scheduled to throw a side session on Friday or Saturday. Nick Kurtz made his debut batting 7th. Tyler Soderstrom started in left field, so could gain outfield eligibility pretty soon. And
that was fun. Why not stick Rooker there? Why go with Soderstrom? I don't know. I'm not managing the A's, but that's what happened. And that would reduce the first base clutter itself if Soderstrom picks up outfield eligibility and you had him and Ben Rice. So what do I do? You might get a solution here unexpectedly.
Soderstrom's a better athlete than Rooker for what it's worth.
Nick Kurtz, by the way, in his debut went 1 for 4 with an RBI, and the single that he hit 112 miles per hour off the bat. So pretty
straight into the ground.
It was less impressive than that makes it sound, but yes.
Yeah.
Hey, we'd rather the exit velocities than not.
Yeah, sure.
Remember this guy, Jared Jones, is scheduled to undergo a follow-up MRI later this week. He's on the IL with a UCL sprain in his right elbow. Cardinals pitching prospect Quinn Matthews will resume a throwing program this week. He was placed in the IL last week with left shoulder soreness, and Lucas Giolito is scheduled for his season debut on May 1st. It will also be his Red Sox debut. We have not seen Giolito pitch in a regular season game since 2023. He's 34% rostered. Any interest in Lucas Giolito?
Yeah, some. I mean, slim pickings on the waiver wire at starting pitcher, surprisingly, for this early in the season. I wrote in my recent Rankings Movers article about how Landon Roop is, for there being so few pitching options on the waiver wire, he's being supremely overlooked. So I wouldn't be picking up Giolito if Roop was still out there, and I could probably come up with a couple other names with some availability who I'd take over Giolito. But if you're looking to maximize pitching depth, it wasn't for most of Giolito's career. He has been a must roster type of pitcher. And it's been a couple years since he pitched, and that last year he pitched.
Last 2 years was really bad.
Okay, but he's had his elbow operated on since then, so there may be different outcomes. It's not a high probability play. But there is some upside there potentially.
I think the way to look at it is if you've got an IL spot to play with, why not add him and just see what happens? Because you're not going to have to activate him until if he starts next Thursday, you won't have to activate him until after he starts. So you're going to get a free look at him. I think that's the best way to look at it. Is just if you've got the IL spot to play with, or if you've just got a free bench spot, just add him and see what happens. It's probably going to go bad. His velocity is not back to like 2021 levels when he was good or when he was better, but just see what happens if you've got the roster spot to play with. Sure.
Man, I have almost zero faith in Lucas Giolito.
Yeah, I have very little.
You shouldn't.
I'd rather take a shot on Andrew Heaney, to be honest, which might sound crazy. But
I actually think that's perfectly reasonable. Yeah,
it's reasonable.
All right, let's take our final break. And when we return, we'll talk about some waiver wire options, a little fill in the blank. We'll do that right after this.
She knows, and I know she knows.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball Today. Waiver wire pitchers from Wednesday's action. We spoke about Andrew Heaney. We spoke about Reese Olson. This is kind of a, beat the waiver wire. They look like 2-star pitchers. We'll find out more tomorrow with Scott's weekly preview. But a couple of their names who look like they line up for 2 starts. David Peterson, who was okay against the Phillies. Looks like he might get the D-backs and at the Cardinals next week. JP Sears, solid outing against the Rangers. And it looks like he will be at the Rangers and at Miami next week. And then Tomoyuki Sugano has turned in back-to-back 7-inning quality starts. He also has 9 strikeouts in 28 innings pitched this season.
2.9 K per 9.
He might get the Yankees and Royals next week. So do you guys want to beat the waiver wire for any of these potential 2-star pitchers?
Like you can't get me excited about starting any of them. I'm not saying they won't be on the list because again, I have to come up with 10 options when the waiver wire has been picked clean of what I consider to be interesting starting pitchers. But who did you say Sugano's matchups were again?
Yankees and Royals.
Yeah, I feel like he's the least interesting of the three. Even coming off back-to-back 7-inning starts, there's just nothing here. There's nothing. 4 swinging strikes on 94 pitches, in addition to having just the 1 strikeout. None of his individual pitches has it is like a swing and miss pitch by any degree. Average exit velocity 90 miles per hour, so it's not like he's giving up a bunch of weak contact. Not a high ground ball rate. I guess he throws a lot of strikes, but I don't think that's going to take him very far. I don't see anything here for Sugano, and I think if you can get out in a deep league where you want to just drop him, then you should.
David Peterson is just so confusing to me because he's maintained this low-ish ERA for almost a calendar year now. I mean, it's a 3.29 ERA, but it's also a 1.43 WHIP. The underlying numbers like it a lot. It's over a strikeout per inning. It's a really good ground ball rate, but just gives up a lot of hard contact. And you just look at the individual pitch characteristics here. I don't know. I cannot get excited about David Peterson while acknowledging he has been pretty good for almost the past year.
I think JP Sears among these guys, I don't think there's a ton of long-term potential there, but specifically for the 2-start week next week, and this is not counting Reese Olson, who I think is much more interesting. And even I think Heaney, even with the bad matchups, is probably more interesting. But Sears, he gets Texas, their offense showing some signs of life the last couple of days. Wyatt Langford being back certainly helps, but that doesn't look like a terrible matchup right now. And obviously at Miami is a great matchup. So I think if you have to pick one of these, Sears is the most interesting.
Instead of asking you guys if we can drop Kumar Rocker, I'm just going to tell you guys that we can drop Kumar Rocker. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Hopefully nobody started him after he finally delivered a good one last time. I think there was talk of picking him up again, but it was more of a pick him up to see if the next one goes well too, not pick him up to start him, because it's just too volatile. We haven't heard the last of Kumar Rocker, I'm sure, but it'll take a lot to regain trust in him.
Where are you guys at on David Festa, who obviously is a name that has some prospect pedigree, and he's been called up, and overall he's been okay, but he's just not going deep into starts, and bit of a letdown here against the White Sox. 4+ innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. He actually came out for the 5th inning. He allowed a walk and a hit, and then he was pulled with 84 pitches at the time. So Rocco Baldelli actually let him go a little bit deeper in terms of pitch count, at least here. But a 28% roster. He's not highly rostered or anything, but this is a player that I think we have that has some upside. It's just he doesn't go deep enough to really see that upside, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly it. It's not like he's in a bad situation in terms of the team or even the defense behind him necessarily. It's just they're just so careful with their pitchers, and the first sign of danger after the first 2 times through the order, they're going to yank you, and so you've got to be super efficient and run into no problem, or else you're going to max out at 5 innings. And I think he's an upside play who may not have upside, which is a tough place to be.
I don't want to make it seem like what's happening in April is going to happen for May, June, July, August, and September, though. Like if Festa pitches well enough that there's never a threat to his rotation spot, at some point he's going to have to go deeper into games because he's going to kill the bullpen if he's just 4 innings every time. And so they're going to have to let him do that some in the future. Again, if he's pitching well. So, I mean, I keep talking about how not a lot of starting pitchers are interesting on the waiver wire, at least in CBS sports leagues where pitchers tend to be rostered more in general. I don't know, it may be different in your Yahoo league or whatever. But I'm not seeing a lot to like out there, and Festa is near the top of the list.
Yep.
It just doesn't seem like he's that startable. So I guess it's more like if you're looking to get as much starting pitcher on your roster, which I think is usually the case in head-to-head points leagues specifically, then maybe it makes sense to roster him just because of an absence of quality alternatives. But we're not really at the point where you can start Festa yet.
Couple names in the deepest of leagues. Emerson Hancock had a strong start at the Red Sox. 6 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts, 12 whiffs on 92 pitches. Ryan Gusto, who pitches for the Astros, had a nice start up against Toronto. 5 2/3, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, 12 whiffs on 80 pitches. And then Miles Michaelis and Bryce Elder. Blah, blah. I don't know. Anything here with some of these names, deeper leagues?
Your reaction to Bryce Elder and Miles Michaelis is correct.
I mean, Michaelis is going to have stretches where he's useful. It's just going to be impossible to predict.
And when it goes wrong, oof.
Yeah. Hancock gets the Angels next week. I don't think he's very good, but he has some prospect pedigree from like 4 years ago. I think there was a point where he was the best of the Mariners pitching prospects, if I'm remembering correctly.
I believe he was the 5th overall pick in his draft.
And I think he was like ranked ahead of George Kirby and Logan Gilbert at one point. And then those guys developed and he really didn't. But he's got a good matchup. I think that's probably the only one. I don't know what's Gusto's matchups next week. Do we have that?
I can pull that up while you talk about him.
I don't want to say he's totally uninteresting, but he's also like not that young. He was 26. His minor league track record is not that good.
Home against Detroit.
That's okay. I think I'd probably rather have that than Hancock, but I don't know.
Yeah. Because there's a little more of a mystery box of appeal there for Gusto. I think I prefer him to Hancock.
Mm-hmm.
If Hancock's going to succeed, it's as like a ground ball specialist, and there's only so much upside there. And I think there's still a lot of downside for Hancock. So I don't even think it's worth pursuing. And I'm not saying Ryan Gusto has a lot of upside, but his approach to pitching is an interesting one because it's a lot of fastballs, high induced vertical break, 19 inches there. And he's getting whiffs on that fastball, throwing it a lot. 5 offerings apart from that fastball, but none of them, like it's sort of like how Bryce Miller was pitching last year, where he tried to develop a bunch of secondaries at once and wasn't really using any that often until finally I think the splitter emerged as something he could depend on. Wasn't it the splitter?
Curveball.
Something.
The splitter was early, and then the curveball was late.
Okay. So, and I don't know that anything will emerge with for Gusto. I keep wanting to call him Gusto. Mucho Gusto. No, it's Ryan Gusto. I don't know that any one pitch will emerge for him, but like that fastball is good enough that if he could just keep hitters guessing otherwise, it might work. It's dangerous and it's not particularly high ceiling, but if you're desperate, I think Ryan Gusto is more interesting than a lot of the guys we've talked about.
It sounds like you were saying he was throwing the fastball with gusto. All right, we can move on.
Oh, yes, let's definitely move on. Some waiver wire hitters. How many days in a row can we talk about Luke Keeschel, who went 1 for 3 with a double, a walk, and 2 more steals? Did see him make a pretty costly error at second base, though, so maybe he's back to DH for a couple of games, but 6 for 17 so far, 500 on base percentage, 5 steals, 1029 OPS, 31% rostered. It's creeping up there.
Yeah,
it's too low.
Feel like this number should be a lot higher.
Yeah,
I think I saw a stat like he's the
it's an MLB record for most steals in the first 5 games.
Yeah, 5 steals in 5 games. That's never would have guessed that.
He had 23, I think, in 102 games in the minors last year. So it's not like he's got no speed, but
project
he's
that
not
out,
Chandler
that's like
Simpson.
That's like 35 steal pace, right?
Right, but he's not Chandler Simpson.
Sure,
you know?
Sure, but I mean, look, I think you can count on Keeschel to be a base stealer.
Clearly,
more than anything, on base guy. Presumably, he was great at that in the minors too. It's just a question of is the back going to be dangerous enough that major league pitchers continue to throw him balls on occasion? He doesn't hit the ball especially hard. He did hit his hardest ball yet in this game. It was 104 miles per hour, which is still not very hard for a hard hit ball. And his AAA high was like 106 something. So we don't have 106.9, so basically 107 at AAA. And we don't have data from lower in the minors, but that's what the scouting report says too, that the exit velocity readings aren't impressive for Luke Keeschel, but he gets to power anyway because of how the angle the ball takes off the bat. So it's sort of like Pete Crow-Armstrong, right? It could work for Keeschel too. Keeschel has much better plate discipline than Crow-Armstrong in theory, and might be close to as good of a base stealer. So I think given that Pete Crow-Armstrong, the consensus on him is way up here, like through the ceiling, and Keeschel, it's still very, kind of waistline level. I have an easier time getting excited about Keeschel, relatively speaking.
And it's also worth noting, similar prospect pedigree, Keeschel did not have the defensive value propping his value.
Right.
So prospect people thought Keeschel was a better hitter, relatively speaking, than PCA.
Yeah. And
what
is it with the Twins, like developing these interesting bats, interesting patient bats who they kind of hide at second base, but they're not actually good enough to play there.
Well, I mean, even Jenkins and Rodriguez, their 2 remaining top prospects, are very similar. They're not second basemen, they're outfielders, but very similar profiles. Super, super patient hitters. That just seems to be an organizational approach there.
4 other names, I think in just deeper leagues, like even deeper than 12-team rotos. We're probably looking at like 15-teamers or deeper than that. Matt Mervis, Andy Pages, Ben Williamson of the Mariners. Not sure if there's anything there. And I think a name to watch in deeper leagues is Zach DeZenzo, who had 3 hits on Wednesday. He had 2 hits on Monday. He started 2 of the past 3 games. And there was a report that the Astros might try Cam Smith in center field, which sounds to me like they're trying to find ways to get Zach DeZenzo in the lineup. So
they're trying it. Like, he's been working out there. I don't know if it's going to happen in games, but they're looking at it for sure, which is amazing because Cam Smith had never played the outfield until a month ago. And now they're just going to throw him out in center field with Jose Altuve next to him and left. Sure.
Hey, I mean, Jackson Merrill did it. Like, let's try it. Why not?
That guy must be cool as a cucumber.
Yeah.
Like the amount of stress they're putting on him.
It's wild.
Like, he's barely out of college. And
I mean, that's one of those things though, that like they love him. Like clearly this is like a smart organization telling us that, like, I know Cam Smith has not been a superstar yet, but the Astros love everything about him. That's an important data point. Even though it's not going to show up on StatCast with a little red lollipop. That is something to keep in mind moving forward.
Astros outfield is really going to be Jose Altuve, Cam Smith, Zach DeZenzo.
Yeah, a second baseman, a third baseman, and DeZenzo was like a first baseman in the minors, right?
He started at third, but he wasn't good enough to stay there, so he moved to first by the end. Yeah,
who cares?
Yeah, I do like
Moneyball
DeZenzo.
era A's. Let's do it.
I do like DeZenzo as a hitter for what it's worth, not in a immediately pick him up in all leagues kind of way, but in a I could see him turning into something kind of way.
All right. Let's do this little fill in the blank. I kind of ran out of time. I don't think I'm very good at fill in the blank, so I think I got to talk to Adam Azer to like come up with some kind of creative fill in the blank. So we'll just do a little rankings edition here. But Logan Webb turned in another strong outing, 6 1/3 shutout, 6 strikeouts here. Fill in the blank. Logan Webb is a top blank starting pitcher rest of season.
Man, I think this might be the best version of Logan Webb we've ever seen.
Might be.
Because he has
keeper looks good, man.
In the past, he's just been sinker changeup primarily. And now he's a legit 5-pitch pitcher. He can throw the sweeper a bunch like he did today if he needs to. It's getting great results. The changeup feel looks to be back. It wasn't there in this one, but entering this start, the whiff rate on the changeup was like 49%. The four-seamer has been getting whiffs. The cutter looks great. I don't know, man. It seems like the struggles that he had mid-season last year have really helped him take a big step forward. And I'm going to say top 20 starting pitcher the rest of the season.
I also say top 20, but I actually have him 15th in head-to-head points leagues.
Sure.
All right, again, that was Logan Webb. What about Sandy Alcantara? Nope, I don't have it loaded up. But Scott, if you want to, there you go. You just helped me out. First quality start of the season for Sandy. He was up against the Reds, 6 innings, 3 runs, 4 strikeouts, 16 whiffs on 102 pitches. Again, same fill in the blank. Sandy is a top blank starting pitcher rest of the season.
40.
I'm more inclined to say like 50. I just think it's going to be hard to come by wins, and like he just hasn't really looked like himself so far coming back from the injury. Like I think the second half of the season could be much better once like he gets his like arm back in shape and like
gets on a better team.
He's on a better team. Yeah, like I don't know. I think if you want to buy Sandy, like thinking for the future, now's probably the time to do it.
Once he's on the Cubs, it's going to take off.
You know what? That is just like a match made in heaven. They have so many prospects.
Owen Casey, Cade Horton for Sandy Alcantara. Let's go.
Kevin, an Alcantara for Alcantara trade. Let's do it.
Okay, yeah.
Ooh, yeah, spicy.
Yeah.
Scott, what do you think?
Cubs would need to give up more, but
I'm saying top 50. Chris says top 40. What do you think?
I have him ranked the lowest of the three of us at 45. So I guess I'm with you, Frank. Top 50.
All right. What about Carlos Rodon? He makes 2 strong starts in a row, 7 innings, 1 unearned run, 8 strikeouts, 17 whiffs here on 90 pitches. This is kind of like, you know, the up and down of Rodon early on, some rough starts, but now he's looks to be getting back on track. Also getting a lot more ground balls this season. Where are you guys at on Rodon? Top blank starting pitcher rest of season.
I have him 1 spot ahead of Alcantara. So we'll say top 45.
Yeah, I was thinking top 40, top 45.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I think he's going to be frustrating. I think the ERA is going to end up pretty high, but the strikeouts will keep you coming back for more.
He's another one who has been forced to expand his arsenal. And I think relative to where he'd be without it, I think it's worked out. Like the curveball and changeup and occasional sinkers are useful pitches. He's never going to be the guy he used to be, though. I think that's clear. The command is not good. He'll occasionally just throw a changeup that bounces like 20 feet in front of the plate. It's clear his feel for pitching has probably never been great, but he used to be able to get away with it when he had a dominant fastball. And now I think it's going to be frustrating. Yeah.
All his secondary pitches look so good, but that fastball just still gets crushed for Carlos Rodon.
It was up a mile per hour in this start, though. I think that might have been the biggest difference. It was back to last year's velocity.
All right, time to eat. That means we gotta wrap this thing up. Brady Singer looked good up against the Marlins. 6 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts to 0 walks. How about this? I want Brady Singer as my SP blank rest of season. So like on your team as your SP4, SP5, bench starting pitcher.
9.
SP9. Okay.
I'm surprised you're saying as high as 5.
I think he's okay. I don't think he's great, but like the 60th best pitcher in fantasy, that sounds right for Brady Singer.
Scott buried him. SP9. That's like a.
Well, I have him 115th, and Chris has him 114th. So I'm crying fraud here.
Brady Singer. I think I have him.
You have him 68th. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
what's going on with you guys, man? Why do you guys hate Brady Singer so much?
He hasn't been good, and I think even when he's been good, it's been in a really boring kind of way. Now, I will point out, he threw his 4-seamer the most he has this season, and I guess it would be the most he has ever because it's a new pitch for him, the 4-seamer to go with the 2-seamer and slider. He threw his 4-seamer the most yet, and he got some of his best results. 22% of the time in this one, he basically ditched it the past couple starts. First 2 starts, he threw the 4-seamer about 13% of the time, and those were pretty good too. So his 3 best starts were the starts where he threw his 4-seamer the most, is probably the most efficient way of saying it. And I don't think the 4-seamer is a great pitch, but does it keep hitters honest with the sinker? And will it help to make Brady Singer more consistent if he's willing to stick with it? I'd like to see more of that because, like I said, his worst 2 starts were the starts where he hardly threw the 4-seamer.
Let's talk about Bowden Francis, who was at the Astros, 4 2/3, 3 runs allowed, 2 strikeouts. He seems like such a confusing pitcher to me. I was willing to take the shot coming into the season, and overall the numbers look okay, but he relies so heavily on this fastball. The secondary pitches don't look great for him. The underlying numbers, definitely not buying Bowden Francis right now. So the fill in the blank, Bowden Francis should be the blank SPARP rest of season. Like what number SPARP are you guys ranking him as?
Gotta think through.
Yeah, I gotta think of all the SPARPs.
I'll help you guys out. I have Scott's updated RP rankings here, and so you have Bubic, Clay Holmes,
for sure.
Clay Holmes, Rasmussen.
Yep.
And then
Grant Holmes,
Landon Roop, and Grant Holmes.
Yeah, I think those 5 for sure ahead of him.
Yeah, so that would make him the 6th for now.
Yeah, I think that's the right range.
Yeah,
probably
I think that's right.
Rather have him than Nick Martinez right now. Rather have
Wes
him
Nesky
than
Wes Nesky and Matt Liberator are my next 2. So
I think
would
those
still take Francis over them.
Those guys are similarly mildly interesting, I guess is the nice way to put it. But I don't have a ton of confidence. Like I think the 5 guys ahead of him are clearly ahead of him, and then they're all just kind of
Got to get that walk rate down.
Yeah.
Francis. I can believe he's a unicorn if he has an elite walk rate. I can, because we saw it last year, obviously a small sample, but I'm willing to entertain that possibility that he's just a unicorn that the data can't explain, as long as he has really good control, and he hasn't had that so far this year.
I mean, the thing is, the data explained why he was good last year. He limited hard contact at an exceptional level and never gave up walks. And now the walk rate's almost double what it was last year, and he's become, it's 5 starts, but he's getting absolutely crushed when he gives up contact, and he's not getting strikeouts to make up for it. His expected wellbound contact is 482. It was 337 last year. And the thing about that is
he gave up weak contact in this start, to be fair, 79.8. So
sure.
It's gone down. Even though the results weren't good in this start, he gave up weak contact.
But my point is just that is one of those stats that takes a really long time. Like you probably prefer to have multiple seasons before you know how good a pitcher is at limiting hard contact. And we had 80 innings last year for 103 innings for Bowden Francis. So it's just the fact that it hasn't carried over doesn't mean it won't, but it's very, very good reason to be skeptical that it will be back.
All right. 3 transitioning from fill in the blank. 3 hitters, the buy low window might be closing. Michael Harris, his last 6 games, he's got 9 hits, 1 homer, 2 steals. Christian Walker, last 4 games, has 6 hits and 2 home runs. And Tristan Casas, that's back-to-back games with a 3-run homer for him. And I saw a tweet sent to me by Eric Samolsky of Roto World. Shout out to Eric, great dude. Apparently, Tristan Casas went back to his 2023 batting stance before Tuesday night's game, and he's homered in each game since. So I don't know why he ever changed the batting stance. Yeah, I was sent a tweet from him, and maybe that's a thing. So the buy low window might be closing on all 3: Harris, Christian Walker, Tristan Casas.
Well, people are so quick to give up on Michael Harris. I don't understand what it is. Like, I get that we used to talk about him as a potential future first rounder, and he hasn't been that. But man, people talk about him like he's been terrible since his rookie season, and it's just not the case. He was not great last year, but he was very good the year before. And I haven't really lost any faith in him.
Still has 3 homers and 4 steals this season.
Yeah, and the quality of contact metrics were very good last year. I haven't looked this year because that's
They're
the
good.
level of unconcerned I've been on him. But I assume that they're still very good. So I like, he's not a superstar. He's not a top 20 player like we hoped he would be. But I think it's kind of the same thing with Tristan Casas, frankly, where I think people have gotten what he was supposed to be or what we hoped he could be, and they kind of hold it against him. Now, Casas has been a half good season at the major league level.
Yeah, that's the
Harris
thing.
has actually had multiple good seasons.
Harris has never had a bad season.
Yeah, last year, but
Casas has only had 1 good half season. So it is like, of these 3, like my faith was never really shaken in Harris, and it basically wasn't shaken in Walker.
Yeah,
there was some concern there because he hasn't been entirely healthy, and he's old. Approaching his mid-30s. So that left some room for doubt. But I did not change my ranking of Walker or Harris. Casas I have moved down behind a lot of those emerging first basemen because I feel like the main thing we like about Casas is pedigree, and he had a really good half season once. And those other hitters, I don't understand why he gets preferential treatment over those others who also have pedigree and certainly are performing well right now. So that's why I moved him behind them. But obviously there's still upside there. And that's an interesting note about the stance. I would think that somebody who has Casas, particularly if he picked up one of these replacement first basemen, and so he just has a spare first baseman, Casas, that he's probably really tempted to drop at this point. And so I think that's probably the clearest buy low scenario. You could maybe get him really low. And if you can, it's worth it at this point, because obviously then there becomes basically no downside.
All right. Again, that was Tristan Casas we were just talking about. Quickly hit some leftovers before we wrap up. And 3 more hits for Paul Goldschmidt, who is batting .383 on the season. Only 1 homer, only 1 steal. Strikeout rate is down, hitting a lot of line drives. I feel like this is a conscious decision where he might just kind of sacrifice power this year to hit for better batting average. So it might just be a different version of Paul Goldschmidt than we're used to at this point. James Wood hit a home run to the pull side. How about that? 1 for 3 with a walk and his 8th home run. He has let off 5 in a row, and it kind of feels like James Wood is settling in as the leadoff hitter for the Nationals. Corbin Carroll, 2 for 5 with a double dong, 3 RBI, now up to 9 homers on the season. And Wyatt Langford, 1 for 3 with a walk and his 6th home run. When he's been healthy, he has looked every bit of the breakout we were expecting this season.
You are slightly underselling James Wood. Yes, it was his first home run to the pull side. It was his first batted ball in the air to the pull side this season.
All he has to do is face Tomoyuki Sagano every time out.
Exactly.
Boy, yeah. I'm looking. You shared this tweet with us about the stance change for Casas. Man, that is subtle. There's no way I would have picked that up.
Yeah, it's not a dramatic change.
Yeah.
But there's something there.
The bat is more diagonal now rather than
behind
being straight up
a
and down. That's the biggest change. and then the stance is slightly more open, I guess. But it's the exact same crouch. And without the side-by-side comparison, I never would have noticed.
All right, one pitching leftover. Zach Wheeler, strong start, 6 innings, 2 runs, 9 strikeouts, 18 whiffs on 107 pitches. Velocity up across the board in this one. Zach Wheeler is awesome. Analysis. Call to the bullpen for we spoke about the Tigers. Phillies. Jose Alvarado pitched scoreless 8th and 9th innings with the game tied against the Mets. Phillies took a 1-run lead in the 10th inning. Jordan Romano came on for the save. He gave up 2 runs on a walk and 2 hits. Took his second blown save, first loss. And I kind of just looks like Jordan Romano's.
I mean, they basically gave, I guess not. Hoffman got a multi-year deal, right? A similar average, but Hoffman got a multi-year.
I don't think it was similar, though. I think it was 3 for 45 for Hoffman, and it was like 1 for 8 for Romano.
Oh, I thought Romano's was like 15. Maybe you're right. That looks like a bad move. That looks like a downgrade.
Oh, yes, big time. For the Nationals, Kyle Finnegan gave up 2 hits, but struck out 1 for his 9th save. For the Mariners, Andres Munoz struck out 1 for his 8th. For the Twins, Yohan Duran, unavailable. Lefty Danny Coulombe struck out 1 for his first save. For the Pirates, David Bednar pitched the 7th inning with a 2-run lead. He threw a perfect inning, struck out 2. Dennis Santana later got the 9th inning with a 3-run lead. He gave up a hit and struck out 1 for his 3rd save. Do you guys think that Santana has to struggle for Bednar to regain the closer role? Or if Bednar just does this for like 5 appearances, do they just put him back in the closer role?
I can only guess. They have not tipped their hand at all.
Yeah. It's very rare that teams pull guys from the closer role when they're succeeding. I know the Tigers maybe have done it with Tommy Kahnle, but it's very rare that happens. Guys usually have to lose it.
It's very rare that a team has a 2-time All-Star closer among those they could switch to. So I could see it going either way. The bottom line is I don't think Dennis Santana is good enough to hold on the job with or without Bednar there. So yeah, if Bednar's pitching well, I think it is just a matter of time.
And then for the Athletics, Mason Miller gave up a hit, but he struck out 3 for his 7th save of the season. And I think I saw a tweet somewhere that his FIP is currently negative for the season. So Mason Miller, also really good. To stream or not to stream on Thursday. Some options here. Shane Smith at the Twins. Chase Dollander at the Royals. Landon Roop is facing the Brewers. Tyler Anderson home against the Pirates. JT Ginn home against the Rangers.
I love Roop. I think I got to put him number 1 here. Shane Smith with the Twins matchup, I think, is fine. And
I'd go Dollander ahead of Smith.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Dollander hasn't shown much, but it at least is a road start.
His one road start was good.
Yeah. Royals lineup has been bad.
Yeah, they've been struggling.
Their outfield is horrendous right now.
I'm okay with that. Well, shout out to Drew Waters. He's actually doing some things for them right now. Very deep league name. I would actually put Tyler Anderson second on this list. I know he's Tyler Anderson, but he's pitched well this year. Pirates lineup is coming around a little bit, but overall they haven't been good this season. So
Pirates are about to get a taste of their own medicine with like Tyler Anderson and Andrew Heaney. They feel they feel like twin brothers to me.
No, they're on the Angels and Pirates actually.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be twin brothers on separate teams, though, Chris. You know,
I was making a joke about the Minnesota Twins baseball club.
Oh, yes, that one. Whoop, right over the head. What about Friday? We've got Hayden Wesneski at the Royals. Chad Patrick is at the Cardinals. Matthew Liberatore home against the Brewers. Andrew Abbott at the Rockies.
And I don't really like any of these.
Luis Severino home against the White Sox. There's just a bunch. There's a bunch of TBDs right now for Friday. So this is all I had.
These are a lot of I am non-committal on these pitchers, but they're showing interesting signs. Wesneski, Chad Patrick, Matthew Liberatore, and Andrew Abbott, they all fall in that group. Hard to, man.
Are we going to get another 8-inning, 1 strikeout game from Luis Severino? I think he's had 2 of those.
You have to go against the Whites.
Yeah, I guess you have to give Severino just because it's the Whites. I don't think he's good anymore, but the White Sox, I'm not even sure their lineup is as good as the typical AAA lineup.
Not if Luis Robert's going to keep hitting like this. Or
Wesneski, I guess, would be number 2 since it's the Royals, and we've talked about. I've said before, I'm just not that scared at Coors Field right now, and I think it's supposed to be
famous last words.
Well, yeah, I mean, eventually there will be a Coors Field game. I understand, but you could get a lot of good starts in the meantime. I don't know. I could see doing Abbott. I could see it. If you're a risk taker, remember when we used to, what was that? What do we use that name we used to have for that pick that was like boom or bust when we were talking about sleeper pitchers?
It was oh man, I'm forgetting it now. I can't remember. It was like that Matt Damon thing. Well, I don't remember what it was.
Oh, there's the fortune favors the bold pick.
There you go. Yeah. Fortune favors.
Yeah, that's Andrew Abbott on Friday.
Yeah. Fortune favors the brave. I think
he said brave in the commercial, but I've always heard
that's never been the saying. That was I mean, beyond everything else about that commercial, that was the silliest thing about that commercial.
Yeah. They did a South Park segment too. It was so good. Yes. Let's go with that. The fortune favors the brave and or bold. Andrew Abbott at the Rockies on Friday. We are going to wrap there for Scott and Chris. I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.